you seen on tape from Joe Burrow?
Joe's having a fantastic season. He's doing a really good job for that team, and I think he plays the game far more experienced than just 2 years in the league. I think he's done a really good job moving the team. He's a really good decision maker. He's really accurate with the football. He can make a lot of winning plays when the pocket's tight and there's not a lot of offense there. In that initial play, he can move and create. I think he's really good in the clutch, and I think he can really elevate the performance of people around him. And I think, since he's been the quarterback there in Cincinnati, their fortunes have changed. And so he's doing a really good job. He's off to a good start in his career, and I think they've done a really good job supporting him with players out wide, skill position players, and up front on the offensive line, tight end group. And they're a very difficult offense to defend. They're a very challenging cover.
Are he and Justin, are they more similar or more different? When you watch Joe, does it look a lot like Justin? Do they look real similar what they're doing?
I think they're both winners. They're both franchise quarterbacks. They can you can go into any environment and win with. I think that's where they're similar. They both have that type of stuff where I think both teams feel like, hey, you can go into any game and feel like you're the team to beat. So I think that's a good sign for both of them. I think they're two of the elite young players in the league. Their styles are very different, the type of players they are. But I think their leadership, their toughness, their smarts, all those things that kind of make a franchise quarterback, they both have them. And they're both leading their teams to successful seasons. And they both, I think, transformed the fortunes of both franchises, both these players have. So I think that's where they're similar. And it's exciting for the NFL when you have two players of this caliber that are hopefully going to be playing for a long time. It's really good for the NFL.
I know you guys drafted 13th overall, but did you guys do extensive work on Jamar during the draft process?
Oh yeah. We're looking at everybody.
Has he lived up to what you guys thought he would be in the NFL?
Yeah, I think the challenging thing with Jamar was just he didn't play last season, and I think, but going back to his last season that he played on that team, there's a lot of good players on that team, and you can make the case that he was the best one on that team, and that's including Joe and Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You can make a case that he was the best guy on that team. So, he's got a lot of really elite traits for the receiver position. He's really physical for the position. He's got a great body. He's got deep speed. He's sudden. He can beat press. He's good after the catch. And, he's having an outstanding season. He's averaging 18 yards per catch. He's got 8 touchdowns. So it's been very productive. You can see that chemistry. Joe really trusts him, and you can see that. And so he's a very complete receiver. He's still at the beginning, but he's off to a really good start. And, he's an exciting young player. We really liked him.
When you look at, obviously, with all the weapons that they have at the receiver, tight end, and everything, feels like Joe Mixon kind of is a little underrated when it comes to that, especially with him rushing for over 900 yards and 11 touchdowns. What have you kind of seen from him also?
Yeah, I don't know how that's possible for him to be underrated. I don't even know how that's possible. He's one of the top backs in the league. I don't know how that's possible because when you flip on the film, he jumps off the tape. He's as good of a runner right now as there is, and you pick a runner, and he's as good as any of them. Balance, body control, speed, power on contact. This guy's really good on contact. Can catch the football out of the backfield. He's a very, very complete back, and he's certainly been an engine for them because they've got the skill players outside that you have to be concerned about, and then they've done a nice job with their offensive line, giving them, giving him a group up there that can really block for him, and I think they've really developed a complete offense, running and throwing it, and he's having a really good season.
Has Zach adjusted his offensive style to Joe's strengths, or has Joe just gotten a further mastery of the offense?
No, I think Zach's done a good job of playing to Joe's strengths. I think that Zach's got a really good offensive background. Number one, he's been around a lot of good coaches, and if you just said where he came from the Rams. Does that offense look like the Rams? It does in some cases, but I think he's definitely fit it to Joe's strengths and the strengths of their team, offensive line and skill position group, and I think that's why they're having success because there's a comfort zone there. But I think Zach's a really good offensive coach, and I think that what he's received. He's had time to build that offense, and they've really been able to onboard a lot of players through the draft and free agency. And now you're seeing that offense come to life. And so they're a tough cover, and it really starts with the trigger man.
Are you guys expecting to activate Linval tomorrow?
Yeah, he's day-to-day. That's our expectation, but, got to go through those final chapters, but that's our expectation.
And then just with Justin Jackson, obviously, he's dealt with some injuries this year, played on special teams, some in that game, but is he sort of working his way back from the injury, and that's why he hasn't been in the offense, or he's trying to get looks at other guys, whether it's Darius or Josh?
Yeah, just trying to get the consistency in production and reliability, and I think that he played really well in the kicking game against Denver, which excited me, and I wanted to make, and that was a good sign for me because that means that he's fully healthy. And then in terms of the run game, we're just making sure that we give those guys every opportunity to show who deserves that second amount of carries. And I think that, we've been saying it, but, we're gonna make sure that we truly do what's best for the team in that specific week until someone says, hey, I'm going to go and run with this. And that's what we got to do with the team, and that's what I've told them. And, those guys are going to duke it out this week, and then we'll see who's up on game day.
We haven't asked in a while, but any update on Brian Bulaga?
Yeah, Brian's working hard. I don't know when the initiation of that time frame will be, in terms of that window, but he's been working hard. He's been out on the grass with our training staff and our performance staff, and we're hopeful. I think we're right towards the end of maybe initiating that time frame, and I know that it means a lot to him, and I've been really pleased with how he's attacked it, and hopefully we'll get good news here soon.
Are you still confident that he'll be back this season, or is there a chance that he won't be back this season?
I mean, I think we're gonna see, but my expectation is that he's back. But I think we got to let him, his health, tell us the story. But I mean, that's his hope. That's my hope. That's our expectation. He's been working closer to that point.
When you get to this time of year, every game's a big game. What do you want to see from your team as you try to realize some of your goals here?
I think it really starts with the purpose in your preparation. And if you truly mean that you're going to treat each week like it has a life of its own, you got to focus in the specifics of your team and theirs, and really come into come into the building and then go onto the practice field and know exactly what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that that's really important this time of year, because I think once you get into like that middle-ish part, like, the fog of the NFL can kind of set in if you let it. Like, hey, this is just kind of a over and over and routine, and like where when you really establish a rhythm, you're doing things with purpose, and there's a reason behind everything that you're doing, whether it's performance, meetings, on the field, and that's what we're trying to do, is energize our team each week so that we can have a good week of practice, so that we feel like going into the game we have our best stuff. And I think that that's the key going into these weeks as you go, is taking the performance side, the tactical side, and then making sure your players know exactly what's expected of them. Because that's where you're going to make the most progress. And, as a team, you never have it figured out. You're always trying to figure it out as you go, and there's so many things week to week that you have to keep, working at so that you can be your best the next week. And that's where we're at right now with our team, and, excited to attack Cincinnati.
How pleased have you been with that to this point, as far as the preparation goes?
Yeah, I think we've, I told the team this morning in our team meeting that I think that we've established a good rhythm and routine. I think that we've established that, but it's December 1st today, and then now there's another level when you're in the hunt. There's another level of focus. There's another gear that you have to get to, and that's when I'm talking about the purpose of the week. When you're in the hunt, now you got to make those improvements. Your margin for error is smaller, so your attention to detail, your focus needs to be better, and you can't talk about it. You got to go do it. You got to go do it on the practice field. You got to do it in the meeting rooms. You got to do it in the training room and in the weight room. So that's what we're after right now. But I think we've established a good thing, and now where can we take it so that it's a special thing?
Brian, what has Derwin James meant to your guys' defense this year?
Man, what has Derwin meant? Derwin is the central figure in our defense. He is the key to how we play. He's the key to how we play structurally, schematically. He's the key to how we play from an energy and from just a pure intangible standpoint, because of his leadership, his toughness, and then what he allows us to do defensively. He makes a lot of people better because of all the places that he can play for us. We're asking him to do a lot because we need him to be doing a lot right now. And like I've told you guys before, what's best for him, would be to just play safety. But what's best for our team is for him to play both safety spots, star, money, X, playing a lot of different places. And that's what he's done for us. Last week is as good of a safety performance as you're going to see. Him tackling that back. He had 2 tackles on that back that you go watch the previous 10 games and no one's tackled him like that. Nobody has. He had the big pick at the end of the half. He had the sack fumble. You're just not going to see a lot of players play like him. Guy that can play man-to-man, guy that can play in the deep part of the field, the guy that's your signal caller, keeping everybody calm. And, last week was as good of a safety performance as you're going to see. He didn't have any, range plays deep. It didn't work out like that because they weren't playing that way. But he did everything else that you could ask a safety to do within the game. And he gave us a real chance in the game. And I just, he's one of the special players in the league. He's getting better each game. And I've told him that because, sometimes when you have a premium player like him, what you can't do is you can't take him for granted. You got to keep coaching him so he's improving at a high level. And what that does for us is allows all the other players to know that, hey, we're coaching Derwin James harder than anybody. And then that has a real impact on his teammates. And, this guy is as good as it gets in the NFL. Yeah, Devontae, we were with him in Denver, and we picked him up, I think, from Cincinnati. I think that's where he came from when we were in Denver, me and R. Hill, Ed Donatel, and Vic. And, he's got athleticism for the position. He's got a pro body. He's got real, traits for corner. He played in some games for us and really kind of saved us, bailed us out. And then we played up against those guys in the preseason when he was in San Francisco. We're able to get a live evaluation of him, and he's played in some games for them this year. And, with where our numbers are right now at corner, we needed to onboard somebody that we felt like could do the job and help us and make us better. And so it was good to see him yesterday, get him out on the practice field today, and we're hoping that he can help us.
Brandon, through 11 games, what's your overall assessment of where your defense is at?
You know what, Daniel, I think that our guys have come to a lot firmer understanding of how we want to play. I think that we're doing a good job of limiting explosive plays, which is a big goal of mine. That's been a strength of ours. I think that we're attacking the football. I think we're third in the NFL in forced fumbles. I think that's been a strength of ours. And I think that from a personnel grouping standpoint, I think we've been able to adjust with the attrition. We've played a ton of different lineups because there have been so many guys going in and out of the lineup. And I think we've responded to that well and been able to play good enough defense to give us a chance in these games. We're not performing well enough at the line of scrimmage in the run game, which is affecting, not only our offense, but our third down, defense. And then, I think that if we can detail our run defense up and play the way that I know that we're capable of, we'll be able to finish this season strong. But that hasn't been a strength of ours so far. And then, our third down defense, I was very pleased coming until about a few weeks ago. And then we had a couple tough things happen on third down penalties and some technique errors and some inconsistency, that allowed guys to stay on the field. And we've worked really hard to address that. But we've really had to fight this year to figure it out on defense. And I think that we're a work in progress. But I think that we've played good enough defense to give us a chance in these games. I think that what we did a good job of is we've played some really, really, really good offenses, and we've been able to go nose to nose with them. What we still have to do is have that performance where, hey, we win the game on defense, where we win the game on defense, and that's what we're striving for. And I think that when I say work in progress, we're working really hard so that happens. But I think that, what we've done a good job of is staying together and figuring it out, coaches and players, because it hasn't been easy. And I'm excited that we've got 6 games and hopefully more to prove ourselves here at the end.
With the third down defense specifically, it seems like there's been sort of 2 issues. Early in the season and even last week, just not being able to stop the run, getting into a lot of third shorts.
Yep.
And then when you have been able to stop the run, you've gotten some third longs and you've had coverage breakdowns. Is it just this type of thing where it's like whack-a-mole and something keeps popping up to prevent you
Yeah.
guys from getting off the field? Is that the
Yeah.
assessment?
I think it's a fair assessment. I think early in the season it was the 3rd and shorts, and our 3rd and 6+ defense was outstanding. I think when some of that attrition hit us in the secondary, some of the technique and the communication and all these little things that make a big difference, I think started to creep up after the New England, when Vato and Asante went down, and you're playing a lot of new guys, and then Nas goes down, and so it's just finding those right combinations. And I think it's been a couple little things. Okay, nothing like, hey man, that is the issue, and we've worked really hard so that our guys know the piece that they play in the play, and so that we can be more consistent. And I think that, like I said, being a work in progress, I think that's that we've spent a lot of time thinking about and talking about and showing our guys, so that at the end of the season, hey, where we made those big improvements in our run defense, we want to make those big improvements on 3rd down, and hopefully we can, down the stretch here, play a lot better.
How do you get better at the line of scrimmage? How are you guys working to get better at the line of scrimmage? You
Yeah,
mentioned that
it's a
was
good question. I think alignment and technique are a big part of, what we need to, improve on. I think how our setup is, if you can go watch one of the runs in the Denver game, early in the game, it's a counterplay to 33, and we lose the edge, and it goes for like a 14-yard gain. And then they run the same exact run in the 4th quarter, and it goes for no gain. And it's the same exact front, it's the same exact coverage system, it's the same exact players doing the same exact thing. And all it was an alignment and a technique between 3 guys, at the point of attack. And it's understanding that role that you play and making sure that you do it, and you do it consistently over and over again. Because when we've done that, we've played plenty good run defense around here. And even in that game, it was plenty good to win. But where we need to get is, hey, where they're not running, they don't even want to run it, that they can't run it, even if they try. And then now we get in the 2nd and pass, 3rd and pass, and then now we can go play football. And so, again, it's been a fight, a work in progress. I think we're improving, and hopefully down the stretch here we play our best.
stood out to you.
Yeah, Matt's going to be out. Matt's going to be out there today at practice. He's still day to day, but he's going to be out there. He's improving. Like I said, he was a game time decision. He's feeling better, but we're going to make sure that we get him out there at practice, get that thing loosened up, and he's day to day.
Samuel and other guys?
Samuel's still in the protocol, feeling better, but still in the protocol. We're going to be safe.
What makes Hubbard and Hendricks such a formidable combination?
These guys play really hard. Trey, I did a lot of work on Trey coming out, and Sam. That was my first year in the league, I want to say. And I think Trey had a 30 visit to Chicago. He's from Apopka down in Florida. I know his head coach, Rick Darlington, really well. I think both of those guys have earned their stripes in this league. I think they're both high-effort players, high toughness, high football IQ. Those guys, they're long, and I think, but they're big. Their best trait is their motor. Those guys really play relentless football. I think that the Hendrickson signing was a really good signing for them. I think it's really upgraded their pass rush, and then being able to keep Sam. Sam was a 3rd-round pick. To be able to keep one of your own, I thought that was a good signing for them to get him back, because he's played really quality football. And their defense is much improved this year, much improved. They've onboarded Von Bell was a good signing, 2 new corners. They've got a fantastic safety, Jesse Bates, who's one of the top players in the league. I got a lot of respect for his game. Was a big fan of his game coming out, and then onboarding DJ Reader. Was a big factor inside for them, the guy from the Texans. He's an inside player that we have a lot of respect for. I did a lot of work on Logan Wilson when I was with the Rams out of Wyoming. He's done a nice job for them. And they've just played a really solid defense this year. And it's been a big factor in their success, because they're a complete football team.
Brandon, just with the drops, I know when we talked to you earlier in the season, you said it was an aberration. We talked to Joe about it, and he compared it to drinking water and having it go down the wrong way, like everyone else. But at some point, does it move from an aberration, or a statistical aberration, to like a serious issue if you guys are leading the league in drops this late in the season?
Yeah, I think you just have to trust what you see, and you have to trust. You got to consider who's throwing it and who's receiving it. And I mean, the guys that have had drops for us are some of the elite playmakers in the league. I mean, when you're talking about Mike Keenan, Jared, Austin, and I think I mean, all of them have probably said something similar, but like to me, it's just time on task together. And we're still, I know it's the NFL and the production, all that, but we're 11 games in together. And things are still happening for the first time, even though we're practicing a bunch and all that. So I think that, there's some of that. But in terms of like their hands and their focus and concentration, and there's none of that. There's none of that. I mean, these guys are, our skill group is as good as there's going to be in pro football right now. And we've got, one of the elite players throwing it in the entire NFL. So we're going to continue to improve. And I think those guys are going to continue to feel that connection, that confidence, keep working at it. And that's what we're going to go out there today at practice and do, is try to create even more of that so that we alleviate some of that stuff.
As a former quarterback, now defensive coach and head coach, how's your philosophy or outlook on trick plays changed over the years?
Well, I was with a great coach in college named Glenn Caruso, a big friend of mine, mentor of mine, National Coach of the Year at St. Thomas in Minnesota. And he always looked at trick plays as there's either good football or bad football. There's winning football and there's losing football. And because he's an offensive coach, and he had a lot of those type of plays. I think that what plays like that do for you, it has a couple effects. It really forces defenses to apply their rules. It takes advantage of bad defense or poor assignment play on defense. And it can create some indecision or some off balance to a defense, just that create a little bit of indecision if you have to get ready for it. And then there's that element sometimes where sometimes you need something, you need a spark, you need something to happen for you. So there's a strategic element to it as well. And then, I think that it's got to be a part of your culture. It's got to be something that you do. The teams that perform those types of plays well, it's a part of their culture. It's the type of culture that we want to have here. We've got a lot of stuff up in every game plan, whether we get to it or not, maybe not. But there's that element that you want to have that in your arsenal so that you force a defense to have to prepare for more. And I think that that's probably what most coaches would tell you. But I think there's several elements to trick plays that are important. Some strategic, some intangible. The excitement, hey, keeping it fresh within your team, hey, that we're going to be aggressive, and that, hey, we got this in our toolbox, we have this in our arsenal, and there's a lot to that as well, too, is just keeping it, mix it up, keeping it fresh. And so, but I think it still boils down to winning football and losing football, good football and bad football, and we certainly want to be, a part of that.
Before the COVID thing, Linval had a shoulder injury,
He did.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's getting better. Yeah, and we're kind of hoping that's a silver lining of his time away, is that he can get that thing even more strengthened so that we have him for the stretch run as close to full health as we can.
And how is Lowe doing?
Lowe's hurting. He's hurting. He's kind of day-to-day, week-to-week, but I do not think he will play this week.
You stress the middle eight a lot in games,
Mm-hmm.
that portion. How much of a frustration factor is it that you're negative point differential in that right now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in some game, last game was a good example. I felt like we did a nice job, of managing that last part of the half and then the beginning part. And I feel like in some games we've been able to come out and do it the right way. It's certainly, we're trying to create as many 2-for-1s on offense as possible. I think we've managed the clock well. I think that's been a strength of ours. I think, we've managed some sudden change situations well defensively at the end of the half. And then coming out of the half, I think that, so much of that, so much about how you come out of the half is the way you start a drive. And I think that those drive starters are big when you come out, whether you're on offense or defense. And I think that, for us to be the team that we're capable of being, just like the fourth quarter's got to be a part of your program, that middle part when you can get that 2-for-1 swing, your whole team's got to know that. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, when we create these possessions, that, hey, this is a huge part of the game where points are at stake here. And, when all these games are starting to mean so much, that big part of the middle is really important, and we're going to continue to emphasize it and try to manage that clock as well as we can. And I thought we did a good job of that against Denver. I thought that was, and obviously it worked out because Derwin got the interception, but I felt like we managed our timeouts well. And then when Justin got the ball, I felt like, being able to finish that half with a touchdown was big. And, in the second half, just, making sure we come out and finish drives.
Coach, how do you feel you've grown in 12 weeks into the season?
You can't, I don't think I can't put like a tangible explanation to you because it would just take too long. Like every day you're learning so much about schedules, about tactics, about offense, defense, kicking game, personnel, performance, relationships within your team, relationships with the media, travel. There's a lot, your family, and I think that when you're experiencing everything for the first time, you improve a lot quicker. You learn quickly. You have to. And so that's what I feel like is the big takeaway for me, is just how much better of a coach I've become since training camp. Where I was last year as a coach, as a defensive coordinator, and where I'm now are two completely different spaces. And that's what the NFL requires of you. And, this last month or so, 2 months, 3 months, will require even more of me, and I'm going to have to learn even more.